So I'm pretty fascinated by the psychological phenomenon called projective identification, which is considered to be a defense mechanism. Unlike projection, which is kind of more mild, and it could be like, I feel sad, I don't really want to deal with it. I look at you and I tell you you look sad, and it's like, it's just not that deep or heavy of an interaction. Projective identification is deep and complex and really, really harms people. And what happens with projective identification is there's a person who has parts of themselves that they absolutely hate and cannot tolerate. And they get rid of those parts of themselves by placing them into the psychological real estate of others, and then tell those other people how horrible their houses look and how terrible the real estate is, and somehow regulate their own self-hatred through manipulating the space in the land of others' minds. So, for example, if somebody is transphobic, the parts of themselves that are gender fluid, they absolutely despise. They turn it towards the trans community, and then they weaponize it in such a way where they make the trans community feel somehow perverted or wrong or dangerous because of their own self-hatred. And so it's this effort to self-regulate in a way that's almost always at the expense of somebody with less power and with a certain level of porousness around their minds for whatever reason. And there's nothing wrong with somebody's mind being porous. That means we're open to new ideas and concepts. So if you've been feeling like kind of dysregulated since Trump was president, for example, it's because his predominant defense mechanism was projective identification. And everything he hated about himself, he would then describe as a phenomenon that was inherent to a marginalized community. And that marginalized community would receive it as some sort of label or way of understanding themselves. And the disregard with which he would describe that community is truly the way that he hated himself. And I don't say this with any empathy towards him. I just want to say that if you're feeling dysregulated by somebody else's inability to regulate their own self-esteem and how they're using you in the service of that process, you've kind of been victimized by projective identification. And one of the major goals of therapy is to locate what's yours and what's theirs, and how to get the stuff that's not yours right back out of you so that you can have a more complete sense of self.